His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Sri Sri Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23. Today we are beginning a new chapter. This new chapter is entitled Devahuti's Lamentation. Yesterday some of us had gone to Bindu Sarovar. So there is a deity of Devahuti. So you can understand from studying or reading this chapter why she is worshipable. Her glories are very nicely described in this chapter. Even though the title sounds little different, Devahuti's lamentation, but actually it is a good reason for her to lament something about something that you would come to know when you read the chapter. Text number 1. Maitreya Vacha Pitrubhyam Prasthite Sadhvi Pitrubhyam Prasthite Sadhvi Patim Ingita Kovida Patim Ingita Kovida Nityam Paryacharat Pritya Nityam Paryacharat Pritya Bhavani Iva Bhavam Prabhum Bhavani Iva Bhavam Prabhum Maitreya Vacha Pitrubhyam Prasthite Sadhvi Patim Ingita Kovida Nityam Paryacharat Pritya Bhavani Va Bhavam Prabhum Maitreya Vacha Pitrubhyam Prasthite Sadhvi Patimingita Kovida Nityam Paryacharat Pritya Bhavani Va Bhavam Prabhum Maitreya Vacha Pitrubhyam Prasthite Sadhvi Patimingita Kovila Satyam Paryacharatritya Bhavani Bhavam Prabhum. Maitreya Uvacha Pitrubhyam Prasthite Sadhi Patimingita Kovila Nityam Paryacharatritya Bhavani Bhavam Prabhum. Maitreya Uvacha. Maitreya said, Pitrubhyam, by the parents, Prasthite, at the departure, Sadhvi, the chaste woman, Patim, her husband, Ingita Kovida, understanding the desires, Nityam, constantly, Paryacharat, she served, Pritya, with great love, Bhavani, the goddess Parvati, Iva, like, Bhavam, Lord Shiva, Prabhum, her Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. Please repeat this translation after me. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This specific example of Bhavani is very significant. Bhavani means the wife of Bhava or Lord Shiva. Bhavani or Parvati, the daughter of the king of the Himalayas, selected Lord Shiva, who appears to be just like a beggar, as her husband. In spite of her being a princess, she undertook all kinds of tribulations to associate with Lord Shiva, who did not even have a house, but was sitting underneath the trees and passing his time in meditation. Although Bhavani was the daughter of a very great king, she used to serve Lord Shiva just like a poor woman. Similarly, Devahuti was the daughter of an emperor, Swayambhuva Manu. Yet, she preferred to accept Kardama Muni as her husband. She served him with great love and affection, and she knew how to please him. Therefore, she is designated here as Sadhvi, which means a chaste, faithful wife. Her rare example is the ideal of Vedic civilization. Every woman is expected to be as good and chaste as Devahuti or Bhavani. Today in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the sense of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Shambhu or Lord Shiva is the ideal Vaishnava. He constantly meditates upon Lord Rama and chants Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya which is called the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Unmarried girls worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as he. The girls are not taught to select a husband who is very rich or very opulent for material sense gratification. Rather, if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband as good as Lord Shiva in devotional service, then her life becomes perfect. The wife is dependent on the husband, and if the husband is a Vaishnava, then naturally she shares the devotional service of the husband because she renders him service. This reciprocation of service and love between husband and wife is the ideal of a householder's life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta Swami. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachyatya Devshitari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One special thing about the Srimad Bhagavatam, what is that? Simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can completely realize the absolute truth. So this realization of absolute truth means one is able to also realize what is this material world, what is this material existence, simply by hearing Bhagavatam, without having to go through different kinds of experiences. Sometimes common people, they accuse devotees that you're not really experienced what is life completely or fully. So prematurely you are renouncing the material world or material life. This is an incorrect understanding. Even if somebody were not to renounce this material life and go through the experiences, they cannot expect to get complete experience of the entire material creation, at least not in this life. And even if one were to continue life after life to get different experiences by elevation to the higher planets, there are millions of planets and the living conditions are different in each planet. No two places are identical. No two planets are identical. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishvashesha vasudhati vibhuti bhinnam. Koti kotishu vasudhati. Crores of planets are there in the universe. Vibhuti bhinnam, and the facilities are variegated, different on each planet. So who can say, I have completely experienced all the different planets? That is not possible. So the method suggested by Bhagavatam to realize what is this material existence, to be able to renounce I would not say renounce, to be able to choose to actually accept a spiritual life and aim for going to the spiritual world. That is possible simply by and only by hearing Bhagavatam. Because in the Bhagavatam, all descriptions are there of the different categories of planets. Just like here we are hearing the life of Devahuti. Before her marriage, royal opulence, daughter of the emperor of the world. And that description was given in an earlier chapter. So, after her marriage to Kardama Muni, she was living a very austere life. He was living in the forest. He was engaged in meditation on the Supreme Lord. He was doing tapasya. Devahuti, as a princess, chose to marry him. And what is the reason she chose him? Because he is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. That is the context. Just like Parvati, even though she was born as the daughter of the king of Himalayas, Parvat Raja, that's how she gets the name Parvati, daughter of Parvat Raja. But still she chose to marry Lord Shiva. And Shiva, as Prabhupada explains here, he did not even have a house. He lives underneath a tree, or sometimes he lives in the crematorium. And he passes his time mostly in meditation. Most of the time he is busy with meditation. So why is she choosing to marry such a poor person? Not because of any other consideration than the fact that Shiva is the greatest of all devotees. This is declared in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada is quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto. The last chapter of the 12th canto describes the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there it is stated, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Shambhu means Lord Shiva. He is the ideal Vaishnava. He is the topmost Vaishnava. So, because he is the topmost Vaishnava, Parvati chose to marry him. And to marriage also for the sake of getting this association by service. So what is being said about Devahuti after her marriage, after the departure of her parents, after she got married? The chaste woman Devahuti, Sadhvi. Sadhvi means chaste and faithful. Chastity means devoted to one man, and that is the husband. Completely dedicated and devoted to one person. Sadhvi. And that devotion or dedication is in terms of serving the husband constantly with great love. With great love, serving the husband. Now the word love is not properly understood generally among common people. They think love means some kind of enjoyment through sense satisfaction. That is not love in the context in which it is being described here. Nityam paryacharat pritya. Pritya means with great love. Constantly she served with great love. This service is not for sense enjoyment or sense satisfaction. According to the Bhagavatam, according to all the Vedic literatures, this sense satisfaction is available in every species of life, everywhere in the material world, including the hellish planets. That means even in suffering condition, there is some sense satisfaction available. So the scriptures say, don't endeavor for getting some sense satisfaction in this human form of life. It's automatically available simply because we have got a particular kind of body. There is a certain type of sense pleasure available by the very construction of the body. Take the example of a child which is just born. All of us have gone through it. Okay? As soon as the child is born, it doesn't have to be taught to suck the mother's breast. That's the first thing the child does. And then when it sucks the mother's breast, the mother's milk, the child is getting the taste of that mother's milk. And it is actually relishing that taste. Also the action of sucking, it is very, 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 very pleasing for the child. And it is also pleasing for the mother. This is available regardless of the social condition, the economic condition, the external facilities. Like you see some people living on the road, some poor people. On the road itself, they are having their full family life. Sometimes you can see they are pregnant, then they deliver the child on the road itself. And then the mother will feed the child. So that mother feeding the child on the roadside, and some rich person, rich family woman, she will deliver the child in a first class, high class hospital, Cloud 9 maternity care. There is one such maternity care company. So the best care is taken here for delivery of the child by a mother. Okay. So even that, the experience is the same for the mother and the child. It's the same. That's the kind of construct of this body. Now that same kind of pleasure is available even if a cow delivers one calf or a cat delivers a kitten. Same sense satisfaction is available. So therefore, in the Hitopadesha it is said, Ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha samanyametat pashubi naranam. The satisfaction or the pleasure available from eating, sleeping, mating and defending is the same whether animals or humans. It is common for animals and human beings. This pleasure available in all animals all human beings, all over the entire surface of this globe. Everywhere it's available. Enjoyment. Because you cannot get more than what is stored up in this body. Already stored up by birth. It's called Deha Yoga. 7th canto, there's a verse spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Sukham aindriyakam daitya deha yogena dehinam sarvatra labhyate daivat yatha dukkham ayatnataha. Deha yoga means this body that I have got, or you have got, each one of us have got. In that there is a certain amount of happiness and certain amount of distress stored up. And as the body goes through changes, different quantity of pleasure and pain is being released gradually. Till we are in this body, without any endeavor, we'll be able to experience that. Whether you want it, don't want it, you like it, don't like it, nobody likes to suffer. Everybody likes to only enjoy. And sometimes we don't even like to enjoy a particular kind of enjoyment that's available. Whatever that be the case, that enjoyment and suffering will come automatically. Prahlad Maharaj says, Sarvatra labhyate daivat. It's available everywhere in all bodies at all times, for all creatures. Daivat, by superior arrangement. Yatha, just like dukkham ayatnataha. Nobody endeavors for suffering. It comes automatically without our wanting it. Nobody wants suffering, but it comes. Exactly like that, Prahlad Maharaj says, enjoyment, the opposite of suffering, will also come. Will also come without your endeavor. It's our misconception that if I have got a nice house and I made good arrangements for sleeping on a nice bed, then I am very comfortable, I can enjoy my sleep better than some poor person who is lying on the street, footpath. But Bhagavatam says, the pleasure of sleep is the same. You may be sleeping on a nice comfortable bed, that is only as long as you are awake. You are conscious and you are aware of the bed, or the person lying on the street, the poor man is conscious of the hard stone on which he is lying down, or the hard earth. But after he goes to sleep, as much as after you go to sleep, you completely forget all these conditions under which you are sleeping. You forget this gross body, you forget the bed, you forget everything. Gross. You enter another world called the dream world. Everyone who goes to sleep enters a dream world. And in the dream world, it's a different experience and a different situation. Completely different. Bhagavatam tells, don't endeavor. Tasyaiva heto prayateto ko vido nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyatha. Endeavor for that purposeful end which is not available by going to all the different planets with different facilities, especially the upper planets with very advanced facilities for sense enjoyment. That which is not available anywhere in the whole creation, that purposeful end one should endeavor. Tasyaiva heto prayateta. You should endeavor for that purposeful end which is not available in any place of this creation by its construction. So again the same thing Narada says, that distress and happiness come automatically. So don't endeavor for... Our endeavor generally will be, how can I increase the happiness and how I can avoid or minimize the suffering. Our whole life we will endeavor for this. And Bhagavatam teaches us, you cannot increase the enjoyment, you cannot avoid suffering, you cannot reduce the suffering by any material methods. Not possible. But by spiritual life, which intelligent people understand and follow, like Devahuti, Parvati, they understand. They are very intelligent. So therefore, Devahuti has chosen to marry Kardama Muni because he is a great devotee. And what's the advantage of marrying such a great devotee for Devahuti? As we will read in the later parts of this canto. That she will learn from him how he is completely aloof from all these material miseries simply by devotional service. Simply by devotional service, you can be completely aloof from all these material miseries. So that is the benefit. That is the advantage. And for learning about that, one has to serve very faithfully the master, the spiritual master. So in our Vedic culture, there are some natural spiritual masters by the very arrangement. Moment a child is born, it has got its spiritual masters, the mother and father. And then for the woman who gets married, husband is the natural spiritual master. For a student who goes to Gurukul, the teacher who teaches that Vedic knowledge is the natural spiritual master. But unfortunately, in this present age, the parents or the teachers who teach in the schools and colleges, they are not spiritually enlightened. So therefore, they are unable to act as spiritual masters. They are unable to give spiritual benefit to their dependents. So Bhagavatam says the responsibility is so great of parents, of husband, of a teacher, that since they are in the position of being naturally the spiritual master of their dependents, they have to ensure that by their teaching or by their directions or guidance, the dependents are liberated from material existence in this very life. There is a verse in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. Don't become a parent if you cannot deliver your dependents from this material existence. So therefore, Devahuti's example is given here in the Bhagavatam, that she was the ideal, chaste, faithful wife of her husband. And she was serving him constantly with great love. So love here means not some sense satisfaction, but love means to satisfy the object of love, to satisfy the beloved by service, in order to get the blessing of devotional advancement. That is the idea. So even the husband accepts the service of the wife not because the husband is dependent. The husband is independent. The whole of Vedic culture teaches us how to become materially independent. That is the training in the Vedic culture. But now modern day training is how to become more and more dependent. Somebody goes through, Prabhupada points this out, that they go through education and big degrees, but if they don't get a job, then their education is useless for earning a livelihood. If they're jobless, however nicely they have studied or whatever good training they have got, their education is useless. So Vedic culture, the training is how to become independent materially. And that is not possible unless one learns spiritual dependence. Because we are living entity, we are very tiny spirit soul. We cannot be independent. We have to be dependent. So if we have to become materially independent, then we have to learn spiritual dependence. That spiritual dependence is taught by service, devotional service. So when the wife serves the husband, or the disciple serves the spiritual master, or everyone is ultimately taught to serve Krishna, then we become spiritually dependent on the spiritual master, on the Supreme Lord Krishna. And this is a very safe and secure position in our life. Whereas materially, however much we make arrangements for becoming secure and safe, it is totally unreliable. Anything material is subject to destruction. It cannot remain forever. So finally death comes and dismantles everything, all our arrangements, even if somehow we maintain. That can be done only till we are in this body. But death is going to come, it is sure, and then everything is dismantled. So that way, the scriptures teach us, learn spiritual dependence. On whom? On the most dependable, eternal Lord Krishna. Sarvatmana yasharanam sharanyam. We should surrender to Krishna. We should depend upon Krishna. We should submit to Krishna. Because Krishna is the only dependable person in the entire creation. But we approach Krishna through the spiritual master. We approach Krishna through our superiors. This training is given that directly one cannot approach Krishna, because Krishna is very great the Supreme. So there is a lot of gap between ourself and Krishna due to our material condition. So that gap is minimized by training, education, culture, spiritual training, spiritual education, spiritual culture. We are brought closer to Krishna by our superiors who can guide us. And when we are properly able to establish the right connection with Krishna, and that connection is established with Krishna properly by what is called as Diksha, initiation. The connection with the Supreme Lord. That connection is made or established properly by the spiritual master. So therefore, we should learn this spiritual dependence upon Krishna, and then our life is safe, secure, everything is perfect. It is guaranteed perfection. So we will hear more about how Devahuti served her husband. And Prabhupada says, this is the ideal of a householder's life. Grihastha ashrama. It is spiritual shelter. Grihastha ashrama. Brahmachari ashram. Vanaprastha ashram. Sannyas ashram. Ashram means spiritual shelter. So for civilized human beings, this is the spiritual shelter, proper spiritual shelter. Otherwise, material shelter everybody is having, even animals have. That is not the perfection of human life, material shelter. No. We need spiritual shelter, and spiritual shelter is afforded by the 4 different stages of taking different kinds of protection. Protection as a brahmachari, as a grihastha, as a vanaprastha and sannyasi. For the women, this is for the men. For the women, the scriptures recommend their shelter, spiritual shelter, is the father in the young age and middle age, it is the husband, and in the old age, it is the grown-up son or guardian. So that is, again, that is the spiritual shelter. It's not a material shelter that is being talked of in the ashrama system. Varna system also, it is a means of occupation so that one can save time for the main business, cultivating Krishna consciousness. Why there is prescribed duty given in the Shastra, Varnas, 4 Varnas? It is because only if they engage in the prescribed duty, they will have some time, they will have good amount of time saved for practicing Krishna consciousness. Nowadays, sometimes people ask, why I have to work like a Brahmana or I have to work like a Kshatriya according to my nature? I can do so many other things. You are restricting me. But we see what is happening when they don't follow the prescribed duty. They are not able to save time for practicing spiritual life. Material world is so entangling that if somebody is not careful to do only the minimum required work for getting some maintenance, then the nature of this material existence is such that all the available time will be sucked away by our engagement in so-called occupation. You see, people are working. So many hours they are working. but they don't find time for even 1 hour of spiritual practice. They don't have any time at all. Why 1 hour? They don't even have 10 minutes. If I tell somebody 10 minutes every day you chant 1 mala, no time. So this is the nature of material existence. Everywhere you see around you, not only humans, even the birds, they are busy. Are they simply sitting idle? Animals, birds, insects, worms, they're always busy. At any time, have you seen ants? They'll be in one place, simply lying down or remaining stationary. No, always moving around. Except maybe when they are sleeping. So, it is not true that spiritualists are lazy, simply sitting in one place and doing nothing. No. Spiritualists are busy in a different way. They are busy with spiritual life, spiritual activity. And materialists are wasting time because they are spending more time than required for maintaining this body. And anyway, this body is not something which you can maintain forever. Only the minimum amount of maintenance you require, that much you have to expend. And the rest of the time, we should be engaged in spiritual activity, which is going to give us eternal benefit, incalculable benefit. You cannot calculate how much benefit we will get by spiritual life. So I'll stop here. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. When you explain to the people the Krishna conscious philosophy, the people usually say this attraction towards material things is very fast. They are more attracted to material things than spiritual things. We tell them to come to temple, get up early. We tell people इसके लिए इतना attraction नहीं है, but for material things they are going to movies and things.
Attraction is naturally there.
So how to develop here and how to get this taste?
That's exactly what Bhagavatam is teaching. Krishna, the very word Krishna means all attractive. Krishna is all attractive. But Krishna has got 2 kinds of attractive features. One is Krishna's own material energy is attractive in one way. Materially attractive. Everything in this material creation is materially attractive. But Krishna has got a superior attractive power, spiritual attraction. That we can see in the life of devotees. Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, Krishna Leela. Now not only Krishna Leela, every other Leela, every other form, Narasimha Leela. Narasimha's form is Adbhuta Shringam. It is extraordinarily wonderful. What is that? Narasimha, when he appeared, he was so very ferocious. More ferocious than millions of lions. Half man, half lion. He appeared in that form. The Supreme Lord. But he was so ferocious that all the demons were completely terrified in fear. They became extremely fearful. Even the Devatas, after Narasimha killed Hiranyakashipu and all the other associates, demoniac associates of Hiranyakashipu, then he came and sat on Hiranyakashipu's throne. But the Devatas, they were very happy. Narasimha has appeared and killed this Hiranyakashipu and all the demonic associates. They were very happy. then they are seeing Narasimha's anger is not coming down. So they were very afraid to even go near him. They were assembled. Then, headed by Brahma, the Devatas, one by one they offered nice prayers to Narasimha. Wonderful prayers they offered. Narasimha was still not pacified. He maintained that anger. That anger was actually directed towards Hiranyakashipu and all the demons who were giving too much trouble to Prahlad, his dearmost devotee. So, this form of Narasimha, especially when he just appeared to kill Hiranyaksha, he was not to be pacified even after Hiranyakashipu was killed, except when Prahlad went and pacified him. And the Devatas, they offered prayers, they were hoping that Narasimha will get pacified, but Narasimha was not pacified. Then everybody is looking at Brahma, what's happening? What do we do now? Lord is not pacified. So they are all afraid to go near him. At a distance, they are all standing with great respect, waiting. Then everybody is looking at Brahma because he is the leader. What to do now? So Brahma is looking at Lakshmi. Lakshmi says, I cannot go near him. I never seen him so angry. I cannot go. So Brahma was requesting Lakshmi Devi, please pacify the Lord, your husband. Lakshmi says, I have never seen him so angry. And we are all waiting. He is not cooling down. So I cannot go near him in this condition. I am afraid. So then what does Brahma do? Brahma is also afraid. Needless to say. That's why he approached Lakshmi. Brahma is also afraid. Everyone is afraid. Then suddenly Brahma's eye fell on Prahlad. See, Prahlad is standing so very fearlessly near the Lord. Prahlad was the nearest to the Lord in that assembly. And he is standing fearlessly and he is in complete joy. Just looking at the Lord, my Lord. So then Brahma went to Prahlad and said, please pacify the Lord. So Prahlad went and paid obeisances to Narasimha. Immediately Narasimha, with a big smile, he lifted that boy and placed his Abhaya Hasta, that hand which gives fearlessness to his devotees, he placed on Prahlad's head. And then Prahlad offered wonderful prayers, with ecstasy. And everybody is like, Lord is very happy. He's completely pacified. So, Jayadev Goswami says, Tavakara Kamalavare is Nakham, that hand which had those nails which were like meant for killing Hiranyakashipu. Those lotus hands, he tore apart Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhrangam. He tore apart that body of Hiranyakashipu. That same hands he placed on Prahlad Maharaj's head and assured him of complete protection and fearlessness. And very lovingly he did so. So the form of Narasimha is simultaneously very, very reassuring for the devotees and pleasing to the devotees and guarantees fearlessness for the devotees. The same form is completely fearful for the demons, for the non-devotees. So the devotee's understanding is that Krishna, his spiritual form, his spiritual energy, his spiritual shelter is attractive in a spiritual way. Whereas the material aspect of the Lord's energy, material energy, is attractive for materialistic persons. The difference is both are Krishna's own energy, the spiritual and material. Yes, but the difference is material attraction is simply a cause of material bondage. It is the cause of our bewilderment, cause of our being placed in illusion. We have all false hopes, false expectations. Anything of material beauty, it is just appearing beautiful, but it is very, very temporary. It is very, very temporary. And that beauty only appears beautiful for a particular person in a particular situation, under some circumstances like that. You see, it is not real beauty. Real beauty means that which is eternal, that which is unconditional, that which is eternal. So real beauty is spiritual beauty. Like Krishna's form, it is always beautiful. Not sometimes beautiful, sometimes not so beautiful. No. Material form, it is not always beautiful. So it is conditionally beautiful. And that also it is temporary appearance of beauty. It is not eternally beautiful. So this difference you have to explain to them. Attraction is there, both material and spiritual. That is because Krishna is all attractive. Krishna is all attractive. But intelligent people, they choose to become attracted by spiritual beauty, not material beauty. Also, the scriptures explain, Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargom rusha. This material world itself is a reflection of the spiritual world. In the reflection, some of the features of the original object of which this reflection is a reflection is seen. Just like if there is a piece of nice rasgulla. When you see the picture of the rasgulla on the outside box, some rasgulla mix or rasgulla can, outside there will be a beautiful picture of that rasgulla. When you look at it, it may appear to be very, very attractive or relishable. But you cannot really relish that rasgulla, the picture of the rasgulla. Even somebody's mouth may water seeing that. Right? But they cannot really relish. For that they have to actually open the can and take out the rasgulla and actually take that rasgulla and eat it. Similarly, this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Urdhamulam adashakam ashwattham prahuravye. This is 15th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, explaining the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So what is the perversion? Everything here is illusory. Everything here is illusory. Nothing is permanent, nothing is eternal. So it appears to be real, but it's not real. So therefore, don't be carried away by this illusory appearance of beauty. You wake up to reality of spiritual existence. Come out of illusion. So this we have to explain to them. Now, spiritual beauty will attract us if we are situated in the right consciousness. The right consciousness. If we are in material consciousness, illusory. And will be attracted to spiritual beauty. So what is required is a change of consciousness. And that change of consciousness is very easily made possible by simply chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All of us are examples of that. Before we started chanting, we were also attracted to material beauty. But now we got attracted to spiritual beauty. Therefore we come to the temple to see the beautiful form of Radha Madhav. Earlier our thought was, oh, this is simply some statue. Some sentimental devotees are thinking this is God. Oh, we are very rational. We are not sentimentalists. So we don't get attracted by such statue. Even we as devotees, we have to understand this is not just a statue, it is Sakshat Krishna and Radharani who are actually present. Out of their causeless mercy, they are descended to attract us and to take us back to their personal abode, to give us eternal life full of bliss and knowledge. And that's not a false promise. Next question.
Hare Krishna. So, as per the Vedic tradition, when it is mentioned that a woman is always under the protection of father, husband, or a son. So, in Vedic times, what used to be the fate of a woman who
becomes a widow,
or probably she
doesn't have son.
And
so there is always the system of having a guardian. Like my grandfather's sister, my grand aunt, she became a widow just after marriage. Immediately my grandfather took charge of protecting her. Because nobody else was elderly relative of hers. So immediately he took charge. And she was living in my grandfather's house. Because the main business is not family life. Please understand this point. The main business is devotional service. Whichever position, whichever situation, whichever arrangement, ultimately everything is meant for serving Krishna. Now we they lead a materialistic life with sense enjoyment being the center of their life. This is animal life. That's how animals live. It is doomed to failure, ultimately. Whereas Krishna in the center, wonderful life. No undue competition, no enviousness, no jealousy, no hatred. When Krishna is the center, everything is very nice. Instead of that, you put something else in the center, everything is spoiled. Any other question? Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.